How do you reckon Joe Biden is going to be remembered? Maybe he wants to be remembered as Biden the Benevolent, because he's just carried out the single largest act of presidential clemency on a single day. In total, 1,500 people had their sentences commuted, with a further 39 having their convictions overturned for non-violent crimes. Joining me now to discuss this and more is Sky News contributor Kosha Gada. Kosha, welcome. Tell us what we know about this latest raft of commuted sentences and pardons. It's just extraordinary.
It is, James. Great to be with you. You know, as you said, this has been heralded, or mentioned, I should say, as the largest clemency day in U.S. presidential history at that scale of things. And it also includes, most of them are nonviolent, but one in particular that I know is getting people to scratch their heads is at least one Chinese national who had been convicted for violating child pornography laws, a nonviolent crime, but a serious crime, and he's not even a U.S. citizen. So that's really interesting. And just given some of the scandals the Biden family has been mired in with their interests, their business interests with foreign countries, including China, speculation can emerge from that. But I think, overall what it does is, to your point, it goes to his legacy and something that he will be remembered for. We're not done here. There's 38 days left to go, and people are still thinking there might be more high-profile pardons coming. Obviously, the Hunter Biden pardon happened a couple of weeks ago. And, this is just something that he's doing. He's paving the way for Trump to do much of the same with the J6 folks as well as others, Edward Snowden, Ross Ulbricht, why not? So I think a new standard has been set, and we'll see what happens.
So a new standard has certainly been set. The standard is very, very low. But this is the problem with the Biden administration, right? You mentioned the Chinese national who's been pardoned pornography charges, and you scratch your head and you think, what's going on here? And that's the problem with the Biden administration. Always has been. There's this stench about it that makes people second guess everything. The other one was Anthony Fauci possibly being given a preemptive pardon. I mean, what do you think are the chances? People would just go nuts if someone like Anthony Fauci, with all the anger about COVID lockdowns and the response and, gain of function research, if he was to given a preemptive pardon, I mean, what do you think the response to that would be?
Oh, that's going to be hugely divisive. You're right. Rumors and reports are swirling around that, and we'll see what happens in these 38 days to go. COVID and the way governments around the world completely mismanaged the entire pandemic for the better part of 2 years, I think Melburnians and Australians know that better than most, is something that is always going to be in people's minds. Even if you move on, people are very, very understandably angry about that. And Fauci really has become the face of it, or was the face of it. A lot of actually Trump supporters were angry with Trump. That was one of the things where he sort of had to come around and moderate his position, because he is the one who handpicked Fauci, never fired him, all of that stuff. So there's a lot of negativity towards Fauci for many reasons. And if he were to get a preemptive pardon, because he hasn't even been convicted or tried of anything, but just out of the gate, I think that's going to be an extremely divisive and polarizing thing to do. But I would not be surprised if Biden goes there.
Well, you mentioned a preemptive pardon. I've got to say, I've not heard of that before. Has this been done before, where typically you pardon people for crimes they have committed, right? You committed the crime, you were punished, but now we pardon you. But this idea of pardoning people for crimes that have not even been, nicked yet, let alone prosecuted, is this new, and how does it actually work? It almost seems like you're giving people a license to commit crimes.
Yes, you're right. It's sort of, it is unprecedented, and this blanket thing. And what they do is they try to frame it as, Trump and Trump's DOJ are these tyrants who are going to go out there and invent crimes. And hence we have to do this as a defensive shield. That's how one part of the country and the media is going to frame it. But really what it is it's more of an admission of guilt in some way. And he's got 38 days left on the clock. So the best he can do before an actual conviction is do something like that. But it really would be unprecedented.
Well, you would not put anything past the Biden administration. As you say, there's a little time to go. Hey, before we go, Donald Trump has been named Time Magazine's Person of the Year. And to be honest, I think it's a pretty obvious decision. But have a look at the way the UK publication Metro have reported this news. They've reported it like this: Hitler, Stalin, Khrushchev and Khomeini. I mean, seriously? they've compared Donald Trump to some of the worst people in history. I should add, Obama has been Time Magazine's Person of the Year. Trump derangement syndrome, it does not go away easily, does it?
Evidently not. We're now 9 or 10 years into it, but it does feel like for these folks in the UK, it's the last gasp, and they are the last people to have gotten the memo that the complete preference cascade shift of support towards Trump, where now all sorts of people who are either against him or were quiet about it are openly coming out and expressing support. We saw that through this most amazing political season that I can certainly remember, and these seem like the last uncool kids at the table that nobody wants to sit with, that are still beating that drum that is past its use by date, I think, for sure. And you're right, every single president but 3 have been on there. All sorts of great people have been on there. Yes, controversial people have as well, but for them to just cherry pick those 3 and lump them in, I think it makes them look quite foolish.
Kosha, I think the most telling thing is that Time Magazine actually need Trump to be on the cover, because otherwise we would ignore them. Trump doesn't need them, but they sure need him, and I guess they'll make the most of it. Kosha Gada, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it.